ahead and start the stream and get the YouTube chat right here. So, all right, we are live. Looks like there's a little bit of lag, but I think that things are working. Blade Kaiser, can you see? Let us know if you can see everything okay. I'm going to go ahead and switch this to all chat. All right, so this is the after show. Welcome to the after show. I was looking to go through this article from the New Yorker called 7 Signs That Your Man's Masculinity is Non-Toxic. However, Blave Kaiser put a comment in that I thought maybe we can give a little bit of attention really quick. He asked, he doesn't ask, he just says, surprised you guys didn't say anything about the Roseanne thing. So I thought I would mention it. The Roseanne thing happened like while I was getting everything set up, or at least I learned about it then. And it pretty much became ultra viral. Word is Roseanne Barr said something racist and unbelievably like triggering, and it got her show taken off the air. They canceled it, and I was trying to find. Oh, go ahead.
I posted an article about it.
Yeah, I put it. I clicked it. I'll move it over to. I'll move it over here. All right. So, no, I'm good, Milo. Thank you. So this is on dangerous.com, so it's Milo's thing. But I saw it. It's everywhere. Let's see what Milo has to say. I'll go ahead and read it. In a shocking move by ABC, the network announced it would cancel Roseanne Barr's wildly successful sitcom. It was very popular. Now, I mean, I don't watch television, so I didn't really care that much. But one of the things about Roseanne's show that piqued my interest was that it was from the beginning, it was triggering people because she was playing the part, her character, as a Trump supporter. And, you know, this sort of thing shouldn't be really like controversial. Like, you know, if we go back in history and entertainment, if there's someone, a character in a fictional sitcom that has different political views from another character in the same sitcom, and you can pick any number of shows that did this, then it just made for more interesting storytelling, and you know, it was just made it more fun to watch. But this was a big deal because Trump is literally Hitler, you see. And I thought, okay, so this is one of the very few shows, because Roseanne herself was a supporter of Trump. And the fact that she was able to get Sarah Gilbert, who is a panelist on The View, and I'm pretty sure she's like, you know, one of these SJWs, was pretty surprising. I thought, oh, well, maybe people are starting to just like have, you know, reasonable conversations surrounding culture and politics, and this show could be good for that in a way. Like, at least it gives...
The cast of Roseanne has had nothing to do over the past 10 years other than be on the Big Bang Theory, so they're getting quite desperate.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought, okay, it could be interesting. Now, they were talking about, people were asking that show not to be aired when the first episode came, and they learned that, you know, it wasn't a show that bashed the president all day. But... you know, she stood by it and still did it, and John Goodman was on there, and he's been doing movies and, you know, all kinds of other projects. And so I thought, well, I won't watch it because I don't watch TV, but I'm glad that, culturally speaking, there's a diversity of opinions going around. And then when you couple that with the show that Tim Allen recently came out with, I forget what it's called, but he's more of like, you know, an older, I forget what the name of the show is, but Tim Allen has a show that's also been criticized for being too conservative. I'm pretty sure it's not, but that's what the criticism is. And so
it's called Last Man Standing.
Yeah, that's right. Last Man Standing. That's right. So, you know, when you couple it with that, I was just like, seems like things are, you know, maybe there's some small changes happening in media, at the very least, that people have that there are doors open for people that are trying to approach entertainment from a different way. You know, they're not just all like tooting the same horn, which is what I wouldn't want. Again,
are family values considered a conservative value at this point?
Yes, they are.
I have to wonder, because like almost so many sitcoms throughout the 80s and 90s and before that were about family values, about how families stick together through all the tough times and shit. And it wasn't considered a political thing. It was considered a universal thing. regardless of your politics, your family's got to stick together. That's what Tim Allen's first show was about. It's called Home Improvement.
Yep.
And that was a sort of pun between working with tools and indeed improving your domestic situation. But nowadays, that kind of thing would be considered conservative and therefore extreme right wing. Family values are literally Hitler, Joe.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Most sitcoms
that
were about
belongs
that.
on feminists. That belongs on feminist doorstep right there, because they're the ones that they portrayed family values as an attack on non-traditional families, an attack on single mothers, an attack on gay couples that have adopted or are fostering children, an attack on families where they've got polyamory going on, even though you can't actually have that be legalized or recognized by the government. Anything like that, it's considered an attack if, or feminists treat it as an attack if the norm is treated as the norm. They treat being outside the norm as if that automatically must be looked at as bad and evil and wrong, rather than something that people are dealing with, a situation that they're in, that they're dealing with, or an alternate choice that they're responsible for, and have to do the same or more, putting effort in to make it work.
And yet at the same time, feminism is clearly against the norm, because the norm is patriarchy. So we all have to follow feminism because it's the underdog.
Yeah.
And, poor Norm, he never did anything to anybody, but they all hate him.
From what I understood about the show, Roseanne herself was conservative, but many members of her family were actually progressives. So they were playing from that dynamic.
Yeah, so the idea was it was like All in the Family, or any number of other shows that did the same thing. I mean, they were like, whether it was a clash of generations or a clash of politics or whatever, but that was specifically to make the dynamic more interesting. Hell, what was it, the show that Michael J. Fox originally became famous on, the sitcom that he was on, where he was like the
Family Ties.
Family Ties, yeah, where he was like the Republican son that always wore a suit. And he was almost like a stereotype, but he was the only one that way, and the rest of his family were all like hippies. And but the point wasn't to drive a narrative forward. It was just to say, let's take these two characters and put them here and see how much fun we can have with the dynamic. But that's not how things are these days. So Allison says, ask Mike if he'll ask Dankula if he'll come on. That was at 6:58. I don't know. We're in the after show. He's
fairly recent. He was on the Fireside Chat a few months ago.
Yeah, we had Dankula on a little while ago when he was up for. I think this was after he was found convicted, but we hadn't given the sentence yet, or it was before that.
Thing, actually.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Still in vogue. We sort of let's get both of them on to talk about their experiences. It was really fun, actually. It was one of the funniest fireside chats we did, because there were 4 of us.
Yeah.
It's unusual for a fireside chat.
It was more like a fireside powwow. But Allison, he's already been on. But I mean, like, if there's some reason to get him on, I think he could be a fun guest. Maybe if he's like awake, we could have him on a news show as a special guest or something. Or we could do another fireside chat, talk about.
Or you can do a
he who will not be named. Oh yeah, we could totally do a ragening with a special guest, Dankula, if he wanted to. That'd be great. So let's find out what terrible crime Roseanne Barr committed. Earlier on Tuesday, Barr incited a massive backlash attacking former Obama advisor Valerie Jarrett. The iconic American comedian identified Jarrett, who was born in Iran, as a child of the Islamist organization Muslim Brotherhood and the movie Planet of the Apes. That was the joke that she made. It's like the love child of the Islamist Muslim Brotherhood and the Planet of the Apes. Muslim Brotherhood and Planet of the Apes had a baby equals VJ, Barr wrote, using Jarrett's initials in response to a tweet accusing Jarrett of helping to hide illegal deeds of the Obama administration. In a statement Tuesday afternoon, ABC President Channing Dungey said, Roseanne's Twitter statement is abhorrent, repugnant, and inconsistent with our values, and we have decided to cancel her show. Before the network's stunning announcement, Barr tweeted an apology saying, "I apologize to Valerie Jarrett and to all Americans. I am truly sorry for making a bad joke about her politics and her looks. I should have known better. Forgive me, my joke was in bad taste."
Now, wait, let me get this straight. So people are aware, right, that the Obama administration engaged in a level of campaign spying that makes what people talk about in terms of Watergate, what people are aware of in terms of Watergate, the break-in, and searching a room, just one room, you know, that pales in comparison. You know, no racist puns intended there, but that pales in comparison to what these guys did. These guys used several federal powers. They used federal agencies, federal law enforcement agencies. They had spies in the campaign trying to falsely plant evidence against an opposing candidate. And instead of being outraged over this individual's cover-up of that administration's law-breaking and the level of manipulation of the election and everything that they attempted, they're outraged over a joke. They're outraged over a joke because you can read racist connotations into it.
No, see, it was the Trump administration that did that. Look, we've got the photos to prove it from 2014.
They're the racists.
Yes. But I mean, that's what's going on here.
Well,
basically.
yeah, they're trying to tell you that there's a racial connotation, but they're projecting that because, look, I looked up who this Jarrett person is. First of all, most people didn't know who the fuck, Jarrett was before this happened. So most people are only offended because they're told that they should be offended. They didn't know who this person was. Secondly, she's Iranian, not black, not like a race that if you compared it to an ape would be construed as offensive. Not that I would even do that myself, because I don't really think that that's that big of a deal. Like, we used to call George Bush a chimpanzee and compare him to an ape, but nobody thought that was racist. So there's this reach that's happening where it's like, this is racism. It's like, what? She criticized the Muslim Brotherhood and she made fun of this woman's looks. This woman is Jewish or something. She's Middle Eastern. She's not black. She doesn't even look it. She's not even close. So where are you getting this from? It's ridiculous. And again, I don't care about the show that much. I don't watch it. And I'm not trying to defend Roseanne per se, but I'm thinking, does it look that much as transparent to me as it does to anyone else that this was just a reason to get her canceled because they didn't want the show? I mean, that's what it seems to me,
I think this was two things. It was that, and I think it was a means of distraction from the actual story, which is the criminal behavior of the Obama administration.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And yes, Roseanne should not have apologized. But that's just, I mean, like, she lost the show anyway. Like, the other cast members distanced themselves from her, and the fucking network dropped her. Fuck it. Don't apologize. You're not going to get that back. So
yeah, you're just going to dig yourself deeper in by apologizing.
Mm-hmm.
Why do people not understand this by now? If they've already knocked you down, don't give them an apology. It's not going to encourage them to lift you back up again. They're just, any apology you give them will just give them more fodder to keep knocking you down.
Yeah. Also, here's another thing that was also an important detail. Zerank says, Sticks and Hammer claims that Roseanne's show was actually canceled because of the Soros comment that she made. Yeah, she actually made another tweet around the same time where she accused or said that George Soros was like a Nazi, like he betrayed the Jews to the Nazi party or something like that. Like, just something against George Soros that she said, and it was that's the tweet that did not get her in trouble, but this one is. And
you know what the world needs right now, more than anything, you know what the world needs? A James Woods sitcom.
Yes.
That dude's representing. I've seen that dude representing on Twitter all the time. And he's the fucking Hades from the Disney movie. And obviously he's James Woods as well, so he's a bunch of other fucking cool characters. But someone do that, and don't rely on Hollywood for the budget for this sitcom. Some private fucking company or some private individuals get together, make a sitcom with James Woods, where no one on the team is going to say, "Oh, you can't say that; it's not left wing enough." Surely someone can pull this off.
Maybe Elon Musk should fund it for maximum triggering.
Please, I'd love that.
James Woods as the funny guy and Elon Musk as the straight guy. That would be fantastic. I want to see that.
I want to see that. That needs to happen. All right, so let's see. So then the mainstream media and leftists were quick to label Barr's language as racist. Immediately after the reboot of her show aired, ABC renewed the sitcom for another season. The premiere episode had a viewership of over 20 million. The show depicts Roseanne as a Trump supporter at odds with many members of her family and addresses issues important to many working and middle-class Americans, such as illegal immigration and the opioid crisis. And not only that, but they also talked about healthcare, but they do it in a funny way. It's not preachy. I mean, I just saw like a clip. You know, I don't watch it, but... So anyway, there you go. Roseanne upset the Stasi, and now she doesn't have a job. So it's almost like when Stephen Fry said, "I'm scared." This is what he's scared of. He's scared that he'll say something that his superiors do not like, and he will lose his job and his ability to work anywhere.
And once they've gone through all the men, all the males, which women do you think they're going to start on first? The Bull Dykes and the Jews. The ones who resemble the men the most. Yeah. We're going to start with Roseanne.
All right, so let's get some lulls out here with this. Daily Shouts on the New Yorker. 7 signs that your man's masculinity is non-toxic. So this is actually like a children's picture book. That's how dumb this is. And I'm not saying that lightly. 1. He carries a tote bag that's at once pro-environment, pro-feminism, and pro-reading. There is a watercolor painting of a guy.
Would anyone dare to
hang himself with it?
A computer-generated watercolor image.
One of those things doesn't belong to the other two.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah, that doesn't have anything to do with masculinity. Women do that too. And what does that have to do with masculinity? It's not a not a gendered behavior.
It's about not toxic masculinity. You see, men, they don't read, they're not feminists, and they don't care about the environment by default. So this is actually being non-toxic, i.e. not a man.
They read Nuts magazine and Zoo magazine, and they shouldn't be allowed to read those things.
No.
Couldn't they just summarize the article by saying everything that makes you a man is toxic?
Well,
yeah,
perhaps, but maybe they were tasked with the mission to try to condense everything masculine into 7 things, and then put that on this list.
7 deadly things.
Yeah.
You know what's really
is this like the 7 deadly sins?
Yes.
Nah, that seems like a feminist version of a suicide mission, to have to do something like a non-toxic masculinity. Tell me how.
What's really bothersome about this, honestly, is more that the New Yorker has become BuzzFeed.
Oh yeah, no, that's very sad. The New Yorker.
When I first opened this, I thought, this is the New Yorker? This is not BuzzFeed? This kind of article is in the New York. This is not BuzzFeed. It's the New Yorker. I'm just like, I couldn't get over that for several minutes.
Welcome to modern day mainstream media.
I just looked at the website, at the web page, and at the top there was a link to another article by the New Yorker saying other names for Melania's Be Best campaign, for basically a list of better names than Be Best for a campaign. And one of the icon for that article was Big Gooder. So apparently,
oh my god!
Not only they are BuzzFeed, but they are also misogynist by their own standards.
Yeah, the New Yorker has gone From having insightful articles and insightful cartoons to posting listicles.
Trash.
So feminist rally.
Fucking trash.
I might cry.
It is sad. I used to love the artwork in the New Yorkers.
This is how the universe is going to be destroyed, folks. It's not going to go in an explosion or disintegration. It's all going to fold up and to the right, and just disappear in this folding illusion up and to the right, like a salvia trip. I think salvia's been like that. You forget which room you're in, and everything just glows neon and drifts back and to the right. That's what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
All right, so I got some comments in the chat here. I might as well address them. They were looking for a reason to cancel the show, Blade Kaiser says. Soros is a supervillain or what? Soros is a Hungarian Jew who worked with the Nazis and managed to not bear the same international shame that other Nazis faced. Then Blade Kaiser says she is not the only one who lost her job. So not only did Roseanne lose her job, apparently, yeah, because when the show was canceled, all the other actors lost their jobs as well.
Lost theirs too.
Although
yeah.
I'm sure that Sarah Gilbert can go back on her morning show and John Goodman can go back to doing movies and stuff. But the other people are probably boned. Soros is also said to have undermined companies or economies of nations with decisions that he's made. If he makes an economic decision against others follow suit. I'm fuzzy on this. So pretty much he is a supervillain. Yeah.
I've only just realised that George Soros looks a little bit like DeForest Kelly.
He looks like
those sort of weird creases around the eyes.
Yeah,
they got sort of mad eyes with pieces of creased face around those eyes, like Bones and Soros. They look like they're cut from the same cloth. You know?
Yeah, he looks like the Pope before the current Pope. That's who it looks like to me. I forget, was it Benedict? The Russian Pope that looks like Emperor Palpatine from the Star Wars movies?
Benedict 16, and he was German. He was
German. Okay. Yeah. And like how the current Pope looks a lot like that guy from Brazil. The actor.
Oh my God!
Do you know who I'm talking about?
Poor guy.
No, but he looks like him though. He does. Like
he does.
I remember when I first saw him, I was like, "Is that the dude from the Infinity commercials from the 1990s?" Also from Pirates of the Caribbean and Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
The actor is Jonathan Pryce.
Yes, Jonathan Pryce. Yes. He does though, doesn't he? He looks like him.
Yes, he does.
Okay. All right. Anyway, so moving on. So that was number 1. Number 2, when he goes into a sports bar to use the bathroom, he buys a glass of wine. Oh, I'm sorry. When he goes to a sports bar to use the bathroom, he buys a glass of white wine to be polite.
A sports bar.
I don't.
Do sports bars even sell white wine?
I don't think so.
For the women. I don't know. Probably.
And then the entire train clapped.
Like, so your guy demonstrates that his masculinity is not toxic by going into a sports bar and getting his ass kicked.
Yeah, well, going into a sports bar to use the bathroom. I see.
Like a white wine spritzer, please.
If he uses the bathroom, he buys wine so that they don't think he's just there to use the bathroom. So what you're saying is if you go into a place of business, you have to buy something, otherwise it's impolite, because you could be considered loitering and maybe people will call the cops on you because you're not buying anything. Is that what you're saying? Also, unfortunate image here, folks, to represent that. I don't know that would have been the best idea, but okay. Number 3.
Reminds me of the scene in what's it called? Back to the Future at 3. If you want water, you go in the manger, but outside.
Would that actually have worked in France? With the wine in the sports bar?
Oh, the wine thing worked in France? In France?
I don't know. I'm asking our French here.
We drink beer in bars, or harder alcohols.
That's what would happen here too. You walk into a sports bar, you order a beer or you order hard liquor, but ordering white wine would seem kind of. I don't think even women would go in it. They might order. If women go into a bar like that and they're ordering something feminine, they're probably going to get some fruity dessert drink of some sort. One of the frozen type things that come with a little piece of fruit stuck on the glass and an umbrella in it or something.
Yeah, everyone likes to think I'm not a connoisseur. I don't know anything about wine. I'm not one of those toffs who knows things about wine. I don't know anything about wine. Oh, really? Would you drink white wine at a pub? No. Right, then you understand the etiquette.
You do know something about
That's okay.
wine.
I wouldn't drink white wine somewhere else either, though. So, or red wine, unless
It goes well with
they're-
lemonade. I'm a recent comer to white wine. I've always preferred red, and I still prefer red. But you can't put lemonade in red wine. It becomes
I'm sure
really
you can
fucking
find
gross.
I'm
It's
sure you
not
can
just
find
tastes
wine
bad, it like
bars
fucks
in
up your
France.
stomach.
But that's...
But if you
Yeah,
put,
see.
put lemonade in white wine, it's fine for whatever reason.
It's a lot like rum and whiskey are really good with Jello, but that's a different story.
Well, yeah.
You can put fruit juice in red wine, by the way.
I've
This is
always
gonna offend
preferred.
a great deal of people, but it is possible to put fruit juice in red wine and
Yes.
make it a little bit. Well, sangria is just red wine with oranges in it.
Yep.
That's why you don't often see it sold in bottles in the shop, because you can
Yeah,
just
see,
get red wine and some oranges, and boom, you have the ingredients of sangria right there.
Yep.
I'm horribly unsophisticated in that area, and that I like grape juice and I like fruit juice, but I don't like wine because it tastes like the juice went bad, and it just
Well,
I
it
know
literally
that
did.
that
How do you
makes,
feel about cheese?
yes, I know, and I know that makes me unsophisticated, and I really don't care, because there's no
the whole
point in
point-
drinking something you don't like.
It's sort of ironic. We have a go at the Scandinavians for loving things like chopped up bits of shark that we've left on the beach for 6 months. And yet delicacies in England are considered things like wine and cheese, like milk that's gone really off, like spectacularly off milk, is what we consider a delicacy. And the drink that goes with it is grapes that have gone really quite very off, so off that they could get an elephant drunk.
Yeah. But the dumb thing is, I like beer, and it's similarly, it's something that's gone bad, and I like whiskey. I can't get past I don't know, I just can't get past the taste of wine.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense. If you add a little bit of grape juice to wine, it makes it more even red wine, it makes it more palatable. Even if you got a little bit of grape drank, as I believe it's known in circles. It's not grape juice, bitch.
It's called
grape
purple drank.
Yeah, put a little bit of purple drank in red wine.
Well, technically,
And
doesn't
it
purple
might
drank
actually
have
make
NyQuil in
more
it?
palatable.
Like, NyQuil is nasty.
Well, the Greeks used to dip everything in wine, because they didn't have any drugs back in those days, and they didn't even have oils back in those days, so they used to dip bits of bread in wine and then eat them. It'd be nuts to be a Greek or a fucking Roman or whatever. They did all these imperial things, but
They
also
invented
they ate
olive
bits
oil.
of toast, like soaked in wine all the time.
What are you talking about? They didn't have oil. They totally had oil.
And olive oil.
Yeah, like I mean, that's the thing
I've
they're
already
known for.
forgot what I said 15 seconds ago.
So that was number 2. I don't know how we ended up talking about wine.
It's full of number 2.
Oh, I know. Yeah, that was number 2.
Oh, he's going to be pissed.
Okay, number 3. He openly cries during Pixar movies, even the parts that aren't sad, just beautiful. Openly cries.
Come on.
I think I can cover that scene in
the-
the propaganda in the new Pixar movies.
Yeah.
Oh look, it's Sarah Silverman again. I think I'll cry.
They said beautiful.
I mean,
Well,
like,
that's SJW beautiful.
yeah, who knows what that means?
I see.
You
All-
gotta be pretty careful crying around Nemo, Finding Nemo, right? Oh, look, he's going off with his dad. It's such a beautiful story. Oh, you're a misogynist then.
Yes.
If you're sensationalizing a family with no female member in it, well, clearly that's some kind of misogyny. You can't find it sad that a father and his son have have some kind of bond without a woman involved. How dare you?
But you see,
Nemo is Pixar, right? It's not.
Finding Nemo is Pixar. But you see, it's a clownfish, and clownfish can change genders. So
yes, in reality, but in Disney movies, they just rules are a little bit different.
Yeah, that's true. Here's a great one.
Disney, right?
Huh?
Was it Pixar and Disney?
It was just Pixar at the time. Yeah, it was just Pixar. It was before they were bought, I think.
They were always doing movies as part of Disney, as far as I remember.
Yeah,
They're
probably
still
like
independent
after Toy Story,
studio.
they were part of the Disney, but at that time Disney was still doing 2D animation, and Pixar was sort of separate. Now Disney does their own movies, but they are basically Pixar movies. They just don't have the Pixar logo on them. I don't know how they have it worked out, but I'm fairly certain that the animators, the teams that work at Pixar, work on Disney movies too.
They were doing
Probably.
animated 3D movies before joining up with Pixar, though.
Are you talking about Bolt? And like
Older than
what was what's the one with the Meet the Robinsons? I think that was their, or the Chicken Little. I think that was their first 3D one.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Number 4, he opens doors for women at work, but they're metaphorical doors, like the ones that lead to promotions.
Oh, geez,
That's
I'm gonna
not-
puke.
Oh, like, how is that? Like, I know they're trying to move this from the physical to the metaphorical, and thereby move it from the misogynist to the non-misogynist. But how do you prevent us from just moving from the misogynist to the even more misogynist? If you open metaphorical doors for women, then that's metaphorically misogynistic.
Well, yeah, because it assumes they can't open them themselves. It assumes that the doors are closed to women, and that their own skills and talents won't get them the job. That's and clearly, in an environment they're lamenting as capitalist, the implication is that women don't have equal skills and talents to men.
No.
So I want you to give me a leg up, but I don't want to be conscious that you're giving me a leg up. Just give me
I
a
don't
leg
want
up
to admit I need it.
without me ever knowing that you're doing it, please.
This is non-toxic behavior, people. Number 5, he laughs calmly.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
I
Go
just
ahead.
wanted to mention that the guy in the picture looks like a Mirror Universe Jordan Peterson.
That's a very clean room.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that depends on your definition of equality. This looks like equality of opportunity, which I'm okay with. He's even got the shirt. Number 5, he laughs calmly when called a cuck. He laughs loudly when women are funny. He does not laugh when men are not. He does not laugh at sexism.
Really spooky about that.
Ta-ta-ta.
Yeah, really.
In other words, not that he doesn't laugh when men are not funny, but he doesn't laugh when women would be offended by the ways in which men are funny.
Mm-hmm. Here's the image of a woman telling him a joke, and he's like, girls are funny, deal with it. And then here's a guy saying, I said, and the guy's just like, poker face. I think that's a poker face. Unenthused. This is the artwork that gets printed on the New Yorker. This is the quality. I just want to throw that out there. This is actually hurting my soul when I see it.
It's like I can't tell if this is good advice or bad advice. Because if you laugh at a woman's jokes, that it's well known that the best way to impress people is to be impressed by them. So that actually is a pretty good way to tap into someone's ego by laughing at all their jokes. The extreme, of course, being go ha 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 ha, even when they say like, oh my god, I went to the hairdressers today and it was like 50p more than I thought it would be. Ha ha ha! That's such a funny story. Well done, you. That's the extreme they're trying to avoid, and that looks like it's what's happening in the above picture with the pink background.
Yes. Oh my god, you're killing me.
Look at this beer I'm drinking. I thought it was Spanish, but it turns out it's French.
No, seriously, you're killing me. Stop stabbing me.
And then he does not laugh when men are not. I'm taking that sentence out of context, but I just want you to look at that sentence on its own, without any context. He does not laugh when men are not.
Yeah, that is how I read it too. He does not laugh when they are not. Going back to this Jordan Peterson picture, Blake Kaiser says a guy's wife would crucify him for not taking that promotion for himself. Does that mean that if he doesn't take a job because he opened a metaphorical doorway for another woman, but he upset his wife, is that misogyny? Like 2 times over because the woman needed special...
Yeah, like how many times does a man come home from work saying, darling, I was offered a promotion, but I'm not going to take it because I want to spend more time with the children. And how often does the wife say, no? I demand, in fact, that you take the promotion. I don't give a fuck how much time you spend with the kids. I want that promotion.
Yes. So it really bakes the Benitos. Number 6. It's a bit of a weird one. He makes references to Kurt Vonnegut because he's genuinely interested to hear other people's opinions of Vonnegut's work. He never makes reference to David Foster Wallace.
So in other words, he lets women determine who he thinks is an interesting thinker, and no thinker that women disapprove of can be interesting, even in terms of discussing whether the thinker is right or wrong, or whether there's anything right or wrong about the thinker's, I guess, the thinker's philosophies because of the thinker's lifestyle.
Yeah,
that's a translation there. You can't consider any thoughts by a guy who has been apparently this guy has been brought down. Just looking him up, he's been brought down by Me Too as having been an abusive, horrible person.
Kurt Vonnegut or David Foster Wallace?
David Foster Wallace.
Ah, I see.
They're both authors, right? I know.
I'm guessing.
According
it's
to
their way of saying, hey, Kurt Vonnegut is good and David Foster Wallace is bad, according to what we believe is non-toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
David Foster Wallace committed suicide in 2009. And apparently he was accused by at least one woman of stalking and harassing her and being abusive. And Mary Carr is her name. That he abused and stalked her and nobody cared, she says. And that makes him persona non gratis.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't have the wrong opinions. All right, this is the worst one. I thought it was hilarious though. Number 7, he strictly follows all traffic laws when he plays Grand Theft Auto. Who the fuck does that?
What?
Nobody does that. I remember when I tried it because I had GTA 4 and I was like, I want to try and obey the traffic laws just to see, how it would be. It was so boring. You can't do anything. It's so boring. Everybody's driving so fucking slow. No. Follows the traffic laws when playing Grand Theft Auto.
Does the writer know the point of the game?
Mike?
It gets worse.
This is why women like guys with big cars. It's not because they want to get in there and drive around fast. It's not because they have a thrill for speed and power or anything. They only like the car because when you're driving a car, you can follow traffic rules, and that's hot.
So if you can't...
It's like, yeah, they make all these rules and then, but they never tell us, by the way, we're only attracted to the guys who break the rules.
Yeah.
Good luck.
So if you're going to play Grand Theft Auto and you follow all the traffic laws, can you still do all the other law breaking, like killing people, beating up pimps, stealing people's money, exploding gas stations, using guns in the street. Can you still do those, or do you have to follow all the laws? And if you have to follow all the laws, if you don't want to be toxic, then can we even call the game Grand Theft Auto? Why don't we just call it Auto?
Well, this would also imply that he'll never complete the game.
Yeah, of course not. But then but you see, completing the game, that's a sign of like aggression and competitiveness. That's totally toxic. See, what he should be doing is just trying to coexist with all of the other AI controlled citizens of Liberty City, and just do his thing. Just mind your business and don't hurt anybody, and don't compete and follow the laws, and don't move the plot forward, and don't hang around with those gangsters and like criminals, because they look sketchy. Just
Gamergate wasn't just about video games. It was about all games. They would go all the way down to, you can't play chess as black against white, just as this binary notion of one team against the other. Let them all get together. Why not make chess a 64-player game? Go for
it. That's basically World War II, isn't it?
Yeah.
64-player chess.
I'm sure there
Oh wait,
are...
that's called Risk.
Yeah. Oh God. So
Don't
yeah.
try and hold the Middle East. No one can hold the Middle East. Dumb fucks.
No. But definitely try to get the Ukraine. Okay, so his Sims world.
Kamchatka, my brother. Kamchatka's the way forward. then North America is yours. Everyone knows whoever takes Kamchatka takes all of North America.
His Sims world is a matriarchy, and he does not.
That's just cruel.
That Sims world. Again, like, forget that. Sims world is a matriarchy, and he does not have a Twitter account, because just having a Twitter account is toxic masculinity. Just having one.
Jeez.
Well,
unless you got a blue check mark. And then,
I have toxic masculinity.
I'm suspecting that this is their way of saying that no masculinity is non-toxic, because on one hand they describe, virtue signaling SJW, who doesn't have a Twitter account. How does that work?
Yeah, right. You gotta be pro-feminism, pro-books. Remember in the first thing? You gotta want to talk about Kurt Vonnegut, but you can't have a Twitter.
I don't know if it was Valerie Solanas or some other person who said males are basically women aborted in the birth stage. Is that men are essentially walking abortion. They're women that didn't quite get to be women. I don't know if that's Valerie Solanas. It's one of those.
Yeah. What she said was the Y chromosome was a broken X chromosome. And that men are defective because they're not women and all this other. So she might have just made the walking abortions comment too. If it wasn't her, it was the other one that I can't think of her name. The other one that feminists like to pretend was not. She's not with us. We don't know who you're talking about. Dworkin, yeah.
Ironically, it's in the sleeve of the first Manic Street Preachers album. Oh, so many musicians are feminist cocks, man, but you get used to it. No, I'm never gonna find it. But yeah, it's the kind of thing that rock musicians like to quote. Yeah, men really are aborted women.
Yeah, deformed, aborted women.
Sort of that, you can see why that works in rock music, because that's a hell of a legend to get behind. I'm an aborted fetus. Rawr. I'm gonna make music like the demon aborted fetus I am.
That's
and
quite
it puts
metal.
a spring in your step, More of a spring in your step than telling someone that you're an angel. Oh, you're such an angel. You're automatically brilliant at playing the harp. Now give me some music. And then blink, blink, blink. Oh yeah, yes, it's brilliant, darling. Blink, 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 blink. Yes, it only sounds terrible because the patriarchy is holding you back.
If we take the whole thing, men are abortions, to its logical conclusion, the feminists are pro-abortion, right? This means that they're pro-men. This means that they're men's rights activists.
Much like I've often said to piss off Christians, you guys kind of worship a god who pretty much aborted his son. They sacrificed him on like a vertical altar, and that's what your whole religion is based upon. Sort of God had a son and went, right, I'm going to abort him now in the 300th trimester.
Well, if you really want to get meta, he aborted himself. If you get into the Holy Trinity, Jesus was the personification of God. Like the Holy Trinity is all one thing. The best way I had it explained to me was that it's all one thing the way a pie is all one thing. And you have the bottom crust, the top crust, and the filling, but it's all a pie. And the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit are all one thing. They're all part of one thing. They're not really separable. So as soon as you look at Jesus as the Son of God being aborted, you're actually looking at God aborting himself.
When you said pie, I thought you were talking about the number.
Nope, the food.
What?
But I mean, the same could be said for humans. I mean, a human father and a son kind of make up the same entity, not in a physical sense, but in that sense that dictates the reason why we have children, because you can live forever genetically through your children.
Through your children. Well, and you also have the individual has body, mind, and spirit, where your spirit is the thing that makes you who you are. Your mind is your ability to cognitively think, and obviously your body is the thing that does all the physical work. And whether you could believe in a soul or not, everybody can sort of acknowledge that there is a dramatic psychological difference between humans and other animals that can be referred to as spirit. So that's another similarity, another way of explaining the Trinity. But
it's still,
that's a digression.
It doesn't. I don't see how it makes the relationship between God and Jesus any different. The relationship between a man and a son.
No.
The father and the son are the same, yes, in some important way, but that doesn't mean the father gets to butcher the son.
No. But it is. It does make it as much an attack on the self, which is all the more crazy, right?
Exactly. So if a father decides to abort his son at any point, then he's doing God's will. It's tricky, isn't it?
Well, we're just a clump of cells.
Well,
I hear that one from people all the time.
We're just a clump of cells anyways, us men. I mean,
every living thing in the world is just a clump of cells.
That's why
if it has more than one.
That's the insidious nature of human resources. It only applies to women because they're the humans.
I just wonder how many fucked up men in history have thought, well, I must do what God does. Sacrifice my son. I hang him on a fucking crucifix. How often does that happen? Like, because in Islam they all follow Muhammad as the perfect man, but in Christianity, I guess we're supposed to follow Jesus, but we might just follow Abraham or God, since they're pretty important too. They were there first, and what do those guys do? They sacrifice their children to their God because nothing is more important to them than their God. Which is
technically
so fucking weird. For one of the earliest pieces of wisdom ever written down religiously, like, you should sacrifice your son if your God tells you to, and that's like considered one of the core principles of all Abrahamic religions. Fuck your children. God is more important.
It's not only Abrahamic religions, though. If you look at ancient religions in South America, and you look at ancient religions of the area in which Abrahamic religions came about, there were several that practiced child sacrifice. Some of them in mass, and some of them in very torturous ways. It was actually something that, if you look back on human history, is very brutal. We look at things today that we get appalled over and say we should be past this kind of thing. We're civilized, we're evolved. People have no idea when they talk about that stuff how animalistic and brutal humans used to be. I mean, we used to have punishments for crimes that involved tying a person's limbs to 4 different horses and then slapping the horses' asses and letting them pull the person apart. You know, we used to ancient Greeks and Romans had burning people alive inside of a bowl that was made of metal and placed in a fire so that it became a furnace. You know, you had boiling
Babylon.
boiling oil. You had
The 20th
even
century came along, and they
throwing in baths of eels to get
Yep.
them eaten alive.
Simulation.
Lions.
lions. Yeah,
20th century and early 21st century, they invented these simulations where you just go into this game and do all of that stuff
Yeah.
yep.
rather than reality. And everyone said, "No, stop playing those games. Go back to reality and do those things there instead."
Yeah, I mean, you know,
Okay, I
what
was
video
playing Doom
games
just
were
now, but I'll put it down and get back to reality.
what games
Where's my
games were
chain gun?
those people playing that inspired? What video games did they have that inspired them to, you know, decide to do these things?
Wow.
I'm very impressed with myself for keeping up with this conversation because I keep forgetting everything every 10 seconds.
Well, Stalin's had the best kill death ratio in Call of Duty.
Without even lifting a finger. Okay, so we've gone through the 7 ways cringe. Thank you, New Yorker. Thank you for telling us the opposite of what men should do if they want to attract women. If you want to make sure you get an early divorce, follow these steps. Sorry, ladies, but it's true. So with that said,
Yep.
I wonder what history is going to think of this. History might look back at articles like this and think it must be satire. It's clearly satire. It's emphasized that your man's masculinity is non-toxic.
I hope so.
It's a cock, it's a cock, it's a cock, it's a cock, it's a cock.
Well,
Surely
it's
this
at
is
least
an
in the
onion
humor
article.
section, right?
It's not.
This is what archaeologists and anthropologists of the future are going to have to contend with. Poe's law seems like a silly thing to us, but it's what future historians are going to have to work through. Were these
This is
people
true.
serious or not?
They're gonna have a rough time too because it's in the New Yorker, which is famous for its satire.
Even if it is in the humor section. Because this isn't Daily Shouts. Even there's nothing funny. This isn't funny. There's nothing humorous here. It's so safe. This is why the saying. Go ahead, Mike.
In a way, there kind of is because it seems so self-deprecatory. It seems so obviously cringe that it looks like it could have been made by someone just completely taking the piss the whole time. So maybe this is how you sort of change the narrative with these sneaky guerrilla tactics. You sneak in there and sort of make this ambiguous comedy. Because this is what I've tried to do with feminists and indeed with the internet blood spots guys. Just give them these ambiguous things and see if they can read through them and see if at any point it results in self-examination. It's something of a fool's folly because when you're dealing with people who are determined not to indulge in self-awareness.
Yeah, it's true. One last thing I would recommend before I take us out. You should look this up because it's funny. Do you guys know who David Hogg is? David Hogg was the young teenager from, that was supposedly involved with the Parkland's...
Patrick Bateman 2.0.
Yeah, Patrick Bateman 2.0, exactly. He was part of the Parkland school shooting thing. He declared a couple days ago a meme war on Twitter against the what he called the alt-right. And he says, I challenge people to a meme war. I challenge you guys to a meme war on Twitter. Look up hashtag meme war on Twitter. This is one thing you should do. If you,
So they're not even fighting conservatives anymore.
No,
I mean, you've been convinced for some time, guys, that conservatives are your main enemy. But then you heard about this thing called the alt-right. And that sounds much more sinister than the conservatives who actually exist and actually get policies put through. So let's scare everyone about the alt-right, which is a few hundred people on YouTube who can't do shit to anyone except troll them.
Well, I'm pretty sure the alt-right is not the, because basically he's calling everybody alt-right that doesn't agree with him. So he's going up against the entire internet. So it's basically just look at, just hashtag me more, okay, at David Hogg. But it's not just at David Hogg. And the tweets that his supporters put out, the memes they use, some of them are so old. Like, I'm like, I can't believe that these are real people. They just found the internet. And then, of course, people that are tweeting against him, that are participating in said meme war, all of the Kekistanis, it's hilarious. So look it up online. You're gonna have a laugh. And
look, I found this link called Lemon Party. You won't believe what it is. Have you ever heard of Tub Girl? I bet you haven't heard of Tub Girl.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna go. Gotta cook some dinner. But thanks for joining me on the after show, and I'll talk to you guys next time.